Oh, hey guys, it's your girl, Little Miss Unemployed, back at it again at the Mystic Ruins. Oh yeah, this is happening. 1998 was one of the best years for gaming ever, with tons of iconic classics releasing that year like Banjo-Kazooie, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, Mario Party, Half-Life, Metal Gear Solid, and my beloved Resident Evil 2. Unfortunately for Sega, they weren't doing so well at the time compared to their competitors at Nintendo and Sony. The Saturn flopped and there never was a proper mainline Sonic game for it due to its short-lived lifespan. So when the Dreamcast rolled around, Sonic Team finally started to work on the first proper 3D Sonic game, having it be a massive evolution of the classic quadrilogy in terms of, well, everything. Originally developed for the Saturn before jumping that sinking ship, taking a business trip to Mexico and Peru for inspiration, and radically changing the direction of the series, Sonic's next grand adventure would simply be titled Sonic Adventure. Now, I know I said I'd take a look at Mania and Superstars next, but I'll wait a little more for that. For this video, I'm playing the only logical way to play this game in 2025, that being the Steam port of SADX with some minor tweaks and the Dreamcast conversion mods. You know, since I don't want to play the game with ugly lighting and character models. As usual, links in the description. But with all that boring stuff out of the way, here's Sonic Adventure. The game opens up with the first ever CGI cutscene in the series, and it does a great job to set the mood. The slow build up to the more upbeat track before transitioning to the game's main theme, Open Your Heart, the dated yet charming late 90s CGI character designs for Sonic and Friends, the sheer scope it establishes for the adventure that lies ahead, it's awesome. While I don't think it's as good as previous openings I've mentioned like Unleashed, Colors, and CD, it's still charming in its own way. So here we are at the character select screen. This is pretty much standard Dreamcast era Sonic protocol, but we're gonna have to play through all these campaigns to get the full picture, as well as gaining access to the final chapter of the story. That means playing through Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, E102 Gamma, and Big Story. Oh, the horror. But logically, let's start with Sonic's story, which is easily the best campaign in the game.
Let's get him!
Sonic's story starts off in the city of Station Square. Sonic zooms in and, say the line, Bart.
Oh yeah! This is happening!
Soon after, he notices that the police really fucking suck at their job since they can't seem to handle a 3-foot-tall water goblin. But Sonic defeats him pretty easily. Scratch that, very easily. So the next day, he decides to take a nap before finding out that Tails also sucks at his job.
What? Tails? Watch out! You're gonna crash! Ah!
Now it's his job to go over and investigate the crash site at the first level, Emerald Coast. So let's talk about Sonic's gameplay. Sonic controls like an absolute dream in this game. Granted, it's not the best feeling platformer ever, but I only say that because it's got some early 3D jank sometimes. But once you get used to it, it's just part of the experience. Take that as you will. Except, man, I really don't like this camera. I know it's par for the course with 90s gaming, but the camera is pretty unresponsive and it leads me to messing up every now and then. Anyway, Sonic is a perfect transition of his Genesis counterpart in 3D. The control scheme is simple, with just running, jumping, and spin dashing using only 2 buttons. You need to spin dash up slopes and stuff to build up momentum, but unlike the classics, gaining and keeping speed isn't a reward for playing well. It feels more like a traditional platformer in a good way. Sonic has great ground control, unlike the modern games with the more tank-like movement, and he has a decent acceleration rate. He also has some new tricks up his sleeve which quickly became series staples in the future. For one, the homing attack. Pressing the jump button mid-air locks Sonic onto an enemy, quickly boosting forward to destroy it, and it feels super snappy and responsive in this game. Some future games like Sonic Frontiers may get too slow, so I don't take the tighter and quicker controls for granted. There's also the Lightspeed Dash, one of my favorite abilities in the series, as I mentioned in videos before. Personally, Personally, I prefer when it's mapped to its own button, but I don't really mind charging up the spin dash to do it. It doesn't really take that long. And once you do it, it feels really nice to just dash along ring trails. And returning from the classics are the item capsules housing rings, the normal or electric shield, or invincibility, which is a welcome addition. I still miss these items. There's not much to say other than that. The controls are simple but really fun, and the level design complements them pretty well, especially in the first level, Emerald Coast. There's tons of other beach levels just like this one in the series, but for the first one, it sure is iconic. Running along boardwalks, going into the second half with more greenery, and who could forget the iconic orca whale chase scene? Almost all the levels have little set pieces, and they're all fun and memorable. And of course, it wouldn't be a Sonic game without great music, and this soundtrack is super unique. People often believe this OST is just full of butt rock, when in reality most of the music is a nice fusion of rock and jazz, with plenty of tracks being pumped full of energy, in addition to calm, atmospheric beauty, evolving the style seen in the Saturn port of 3D Blast. Emerald Coast in particular is catchy and upbeat. It's a great way to start our journey. I'm a big fan of the instrumentation, especially the percussion, which is a bit of an unsung hero, but I get it since the strings really do all the heavy lifting. So anyway, we rescue Tails and make it back to the resort. He crashed the plane since he was testing a Chaos Emerald as a power source, and he invited us over to his workshop in the Mystic Ruins, leading us to the hub worlds. Plenty of Sonic games have different approaches to how they handle hub worlds, and I talked about the ones from Unleashed being a way to flesh out the levels from that game. But here in Sonic Adventure 1, the hub worlds are meant to interconnect them, with each of them fitting the world it creates for us. For example, Emerald Coast was right outside the resort at Station Square, and you can go into the sewers to unlock the Lightspeed Dash, not to mention the train that takes us to the Mystic Ruins with its fair share of levels. And of course, the hub worlds are home to the human NPCs, and I've already talked about world building shenanigans before when it comes to humans. Humans in Sonic games have been a debated topic for years, and I'm of the opinion that humans have always belonged in this world. I was happy with the way Tails Tube went along explaining it, so I'll just let them explain.
What you can't see from orbit are all the islands dotting the oceans. There's a bajillion of them. I'm originally from Westside Island, which is where Sonic and I first met. Folks like us usually live on these kind of islands, while people like this live in the bigger countries.
Wow, you really covered it, buddy.
So yeah, Sonic Adventure is one of those Sonic games with world building I appreciate, and it was the first of its kind, making the Sonic universe seem bigger after the classic games. The humans are merely there to make Station Square feel like a lived-in city, which is a bold new location for Sonic. They're also in an anime style, which, as I said before, is my preferred method of doing human Sonic characters. Oh, I can pick this one up. What the fuck? And on the topic of art direction, this is probably one of my favorite aspects of the game. Tons of 90s games use stock textures and sound effects, and looking back on it, it's pretty charming. Hell, they straight up use pictures of their trip to South America for skyboxes, most notably in the Mystic Ruins. This game really did have a cute style to it, and I'm glad the Dreamcast conversion mod exists so I wouldn't have to put up with the objectively worst changes the DX port made. The only problem I have with the presentation is the pop-in, which can get pretty obnoxious, but I can excuse it since this is a pretty old game, and if you focus on Sonic, you probably won't notice it. That and the character expressions. While they're undoubtedly expressive, they can look pretty goofy at times, which is very funny, I will admit, but I imagine they could have made them give out blank expressions like the early Resident Evil games and no one would have minded. But back to the positives, Sonic looks really good in this game. Of course, this is common knowledge now, but they slightly redesigned him so he could work in 3D, which birthed the modern Sonic design we all know and love. Sonic's SA1 model is shorter and stubbier to match his Genesis counterpart more, and the same applies to Tails and Knuckles. It makes the transition from classic to modern more natural, and they all look perfect if you ask me. That's not to mention little things like the crystal ring upgrade and his hot dog shoe shape. What a dapper fellow if I do say so myself. As for the voice acting, the voice cast is doing a solid job, but you can tell they're pretty rough around the edges. They do get better in later games, but here you'll have funny lines like,
You're right, my friend. So here we go.
With that said, I think Ryan Drummond is the best Sonic voice actor we've ever had. He makes Sonic sound youthful and energetic, which fits this game's radical late 90s tone. I also adore Dean Bristow's performance as Eggman. If you ask me, he was the perfect Eggman, balancing the silly and menacing aspects perfectly. He was taken from us way too soon, and he sounded a lot better than Mike Pollock. Hashtag recast Eggman. Anyway, it's time to fight Eggman now.
If it isn't Sonic!
Look, it's a giant talking egg.
Silence! I am Dr. Robotnik, the greatest scientific genius in the world!
Whatever you say, Eggman.
Enough! I've got big plans, and now I'm gonna put them to work!
You're always up to no good. Now what do you want?
I want all of the Chaos Emeralds! Better not interfere! Or else!
Or else what, you big loser?
Or else I'll take them from you by force! The hard way! All systems! Full power! Ah! He's not gonna get away with this! Ah!
Can you tell the bosses are nothing special? After Eggman's defeat, he steals Tails' emerald and summons the water goblin Sonic fought the other day, named Chaos. Eggman plans to feed Chaos all 7 emeralds to achieve his perfect form so he can destroy Station Square and create Eggman Land. So the main plot of Sonic's story is to track the remaining ones down before Eggman does. But besides that, Sonic's campaign is a little light on story besides character interactions, so let's mainly focus on the levels for now. I don't really have much to say about Windy Valley other than the little tornado set piece, but afterward we enter Casinopolis, and this one kind of sucks, sorry. Now, this level is a bit of an interesting one since you need to collect 400 rings in order to stack them up in the vault to reach the Chaos Emerald. Just ignore the fact that Tails is here and he can literally fly us up there, but don't worry about it. Now, in order to collect these rings, you have 2 options, pinball or the sewers. The pinball is pretty boring in my opinion. The physics are pretty slow and it's not very engaging. It's cool that they added the Knights pinball board, but you can honestly just play through the sewer section a couple of times to collect the emerald. So while this level has an interesting gimmick on paper, it could have been executed a lot better. However, the music here is actually pretty good. The tracks Dreamy Stage and Blue Star are delightfully jazzy, sounding like they were ripped straight out of the 1960s. And while I still prefer songs like Casino Night Zone for nailing the vibe better, SA1's casino music is still a nice listen. Alright, now time to shower off all that filthy sewage water.
Hey! Oh no, the Chaos Emerald!
Oh no, you don't!
Oh jeez!
All that just for Eggman to fart on me. Alright, I see how it is. Returning from Sonic 3 is Ice Cap Zone, and it's a massive step up from Casinopolis. We start off in this icy cave with an atmospheric track playing, and there's some sections of climbing on icicles that give me Sonic Unleashed flashbacks, and the cave acts as a perfect prelude to the final snowboarding segment. This is probably one of the most memorable parts in the game, and for good reason. Sonic has to snowboard his way down the mountain to avoid the avalanche, which controls pretty well, albeit a bit janky when it comes to turning sometimes. You can also time your jumps on these ramps to make Sonic do a little trick, and it's pretty cool. The music is of course what makes this set piece work, and I'm a big fan of the part where the music is in sync with the camera change. And after a boring-ass tornado level, we make it to—
Sonic, wait up! Long time no see!
Amy, me.
Oh god, I don't like this music at all. Regardless though, Amy's here now, and her introduction leads us to one of my favorite levels in the game, Twinkle Park. This level opens with a bumper cart section in this outer space environment before we fall down to the roller coaster, so we get a good view of the whole amusement park atop this castle, complete with bowling lanes and merry-go-rounds. This level is absolutely gorgeous, and that's not to mention that this has some of the best platforming in the game. Plenty of places to jump around, test out the lightspeed dash, and I like the bowling segments that reward you with rings. And I don't know if I'm alone in this, but the music here is super underrated. It's an absolute joy. Pretty good level, wouldn't you say, Burger Man? During the nighttime, we find an ID card on the floor, and taking it to a nearby garage gains access to the most iconic level in the game, if Generations is anything to go by, Speed Highway. This level absolutely rules. It's a dangerous, massive run through the highways and rooftops of Station Square during the nighttime, with plenty of tight platforming and a massive scope to boot. It also has its fair share of standout moments, like the helicopter ride and the iconic run down this massive skyscraper. Of course, I can't move on before mentioning the Speed Highway music, and it's another incredible piece that's delightfully badass, complementing the highway feeling perfectly. One train ride to the Mystic Ruins later, and we see Amy kidnapped by one of Eggman's robots before the two of them are beamed up to Eggman's flying masterpiece, the Egg Carrier. Our next objective is to catch up to it, taking us to the next level, Red Mountain. Red Mountain is a damn good level. Great platforming over a dangerous volcano with plenty of appropriate hazards like statues that breathe fire, as well as the occasional lava pool, exploding piles of rocks, and zipline rides. Going into the second portion, we're now inside the volcano, jumping onto collapsing rocks to avoid the rising lava below, and taking in more of the scenery. Like the weird prison area where these guys definitely die from touching the rising lava. Try not to think about it. And the music in both acts are certified bangers. The appropriately named A Symbol of Thrill complements the altitude and the feeling of zipping over an active volcano well, and Red Hot Skull cranks up the edgy, grungy attitude, and it's perfect. So now we're aboard the Egg Carrier, and the next level is Sky Deck.
Wow, this thing is really huge.
Almost as huge as my penis. Sky Deck might as well be the best level in the game. Essentially, it's flying battery zone on crack. Over the stormy clouds, we're outrunning cannons before climbing on pillars to destroy it, running across a bunch of fighter jets, and ending in this topsy-turvy garbage disposal area. And if you're quick enough, you can make it to the animal capsule before the gravity starts to work against you. It's absolute off-the-wall insanity, and it was incredibly fun to speedrun. The cherry on top is, of course, the music. Sky Deck A Go Go is really groovy, and General Offensive ramps up the intensity. I vastly prefer it over the former. So now we meet a couple of newcomers, E102 Gamma and Big the Cat, baby! I love this fucking guy. He's a much better character than Gamma. Oh, I have a really tragic backstory. Ooh, I don't give a fuck. I'm killing you! I only died because I had to jot down notes mid-cutscene. After beating Gamma, Amy states this robot is her friend, so now we reunite with Chaos, now mutated to his 6th form. Sonic and Tails really suck at their jobs. But hey, at least they're not as dumb as Eggman here. 300 IQ my ass. Now pursuing Eggman, Sonic leaps off the egg carrier and makes it to the Mystic Ruins, going on a small detour in the form of the level Lost World. Hey Burger Man, I think I stepped on shit. Can you help me get it off my shoe? Lost World is a mysterious temple with booby traps like flaming arrows and the Indiana Jones boulder chase, and of course the Mario Galaxy gravity room and the bit with the giant snake and unresponsive camera. Pro tip, don't ride on the snake's body. It's much easier to just be on the head. Anyway, the patterns on the walls resemble echidna faces, meaning this temple once belonged to the long-lost Echidna tribe, which we'll see more of in upcoming campaigns. And up next is Final Egg, which I, don't really have much to say on. I like the Metal Sonic cameo before entering though, that was pretty neat. The final boss of Sonic's campaign is the Egg Viper, and even if I mentioned earlier that the bosses kinda suck in this game, I actually really like Egg Viper. It's a little bit below Death Egg Robot for me, which is pretty high praise. It's got an interesting attack pattern that keeps you on your toes, sinister music, and Eggman says this a lot.
Get a load of this! 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 No way! I can't believe it!
And just like that, we beat Sonic's story. Sonic zooms off and references Sonic 1's ending by trying to poke us in the eye, and the credits roll while playing Sonic's theme song, It Doesn't Matter. It's a pretty chill track with lyrics by Tony Harnell and instrumental by Jun Sonoe. While the lyrics are undoubtedly goofy, it still conveys Sonic's personality perfectly, and it's a damn good listen. I still think the Sonic Adventure 2 version blows this one out of the water, but on its own, I love this song. Overall, Sonic's campaign was the best in the game. It was only a couple of hours long, but it's definitely the most fun and replayable, and even if it lacked in the story department, I think the main goal here was just to not show much of what was going on, so you can get the bigger picture as you play more campaigns. With that said, let's move on to the next character, Miles Tails Prower.
Here I come, Sonic!
Now, from here on out, the rest of the campaigns aren't as good as Sonic's, but they're mostly decent, as we see with Tails's. And since we got most of the levels out of the way, we can mostly focus on each character's story and how they control until we make it to a character-specific level. But before we get to gameplay, let's talk about Tails himself. As you can see, his in-game model is a modernization of his classic counterpart, much like Sonic. Except now he's sporting blue eyes. Put on brown contacts, I'm begging you. As for his voice, Tails is played by a young Corey Bringus.
The time has come at last. This new plane should work a lot better. I've ironed out most of the problems. So, here it goes. Emerald, do your stuff!
Honestly, he sounds fine, but I just don't think they should have gone with an actual kid. It just takes me out of it. Then again, the voice acting in this game is pretty weird, but Tails' voice is by far the weirdest. But besides that, Tails' story is actually pretty good. It's one of him trying to be more independent, him trying to escape Sonic's shadow and do his own thing. As such, we start Tails' story with his flight test before he crash lands and Sonic saves him. Our first level is Windy Valley, and when it comes to Tails' gameplay, it's not much, honestly. He can't spin dash or homing attack, he can just fly like the classics and perform his Tails spin move, a new addition to this game. The main objective is to race Sonic across various levels while trying to fly around for quicker routes, often with dash rings which are useful for maintaining altitude. That's really about it. For what it is, I like it, despite how bare bones it is compared to the other campaigns. Anyway, once Tails separates from Sonic, he falls down to the Mystic Ruins jungle area, and he falls unconscious, dreaming of the day he met Sonic.
Wow, that dream brought back memories. I owe so much to Sonic. Sonic! Wonder where he went. Sure hope he's all right.
Afterward, we gotta search for the Chaos Emerald in the jungle. It can be pretty annoying to deal with the camera here, but it didn't take me that long to find the emerald, and I even found an emblem on my way. You probably already noticed the emblems that pop up after beating a stage. They're also scattered throughout the hub world, and collecting more and more give you access to playable Game Gear games, a feature added in the DX port. I didn't get all of them during my playthrough, but there's stuff like the Sonic 1 Game Gear port, Sonic Drift, Sonic Chaos, and my personal favorite, Burger Man's Mean Bean Machine. But back to Tails, a small frog eats the Chaos Emerald, so he chases it down to his only character-specific level, Sand Hill. Green Hill's looking a lot more like Sand Hill right about now. This level is pretty short, but it's still great. Much like Ice Cap Zone, Tails rides on a board over the sandy dunes, avoiding collapsing ruins and cacti while trying to zoom under as many goalposts as possible. During Sonic Team's trip to Peru, Takashi Iizuka saw people surfing over the sand, so this level is another direct inspiration from their research, which is really cool. And of course, the atmosphere and music here is great. Also, I don't know when I'm ever gonna talk about it again, but I love the remix in Team Sonic Racing. It's super faithful to the original track. Say what you will about that game, but the soundtrack was strangely really good. After catching the frog, Tails is transported to the distant past, back to when the Mystic Ruins was a city full of Echidna tribesmen, more specifically, about 3,000 years ago. Closer to the Mesoamerican pyramid is the chief's daughter, Tikal. Tikal is a caring, friendly figure who watched over Chao during her time, and her story is drip-fed to us throughout the game. Her spirit is also in the present day, serving as a guiding light if you're lost.
You can go to the casino area at nighttime.
Oh man, I sure do love gambling! Technically, a Tikal flashback was in Sonic's campaign too, but it was really brief and all it showed was an altar in flames, which we'll discuss later. Here in Tails' story, she speaks directly to him and she recites an ancient prayer taught to her by her grandmother. The servers are the 7 Chaos. Chaos is power. Power enriched by the heart. The controller is the one that unifies the chaos. Tikal doesn't really know what it means and Tails is sent back to the future soon after, but what we do know is that this ancient prayer has something to do with the Chaos Emeralds, the Master Emerald, and whoever wields their power. One Big the Cat jump scare and Tornado 2 take off later, Tails races Sonic through Skydeck and takes Amy back to Station Square. Eggman fell down here too, and since Sonic succeeded in defeating Chaos, Eggman decides to just blow up the entire city with a nuclear bomb. I find this so fucking funny, but not as funny as what happens next. The bomb is deployed, and once it starts to land,
Ah! No, it was a dud.
one race through Speed Highway later, Eggman fights Tails in this incredibly mid-boss fight, and Tails saves the city from blowing up, making his character arc of independence coming full circle. The credits plays his theme song, Believe in Myself, with vocals by Karen Brake. This song's pretty good. I pretty much have the same thoughts as Sonic's theme. It's cheesy, it fits Tails' personality, and the Sonic Adventure 2 version is better, but this one's pretty good too.
I wanna fly high so I can reach the highest of all the heavens. Somebody will be waiting for me, so I have gotta fly higher. Gotta keep going. Everything is a brand new challenge for me. I will believe in myself. This is the only start for me.
And that's really about it for Tails. Yeah, it took me a measly hour blazing through this one. It was just alright. There's nothing else left to say, so let's move on to the man himself, Knuckles the Echidna.
Okay, let's go.
Now, you all know I love Knuckles. I was basically frothing at the mouth when I was talking about him in the classic Sonic video. So it pleases me to say that Knuckles is actually really cool in this game. He looks cool, especially with his shovel claw upgrade, and his voice is really calm and soothing. Michael McGarn is a really solid voice for Knux, and he's up there with Scott Dreyer and Dan Green in my opinion.
As far back as I can remember, I've been living here on this dark island, always guarding the Master Emerald from anything that could harm it. I don't know why I was given this job, why it was my fate. Destined to be here forever.
As you can see, Knuckles' story starts as the first one chronologically. He's watching over the Master Emerald as usual before Eggman breaks it, releasing Chaos, who's been sealed within the mystical gemstone for thousands of years. Soon after, Angel Island falls into the ocean, so it's up to Knuckles to search for all the shards scattered throughout the game. Knuckles' arc is all about self-introspection, since, as we saw, he doesn't exactly know why he's the protector of the Master Emerald, and it's paid off very soon. With that said, when it comes to his gameplay, it's got a little more meat on its bones compared to Tails, but nothing's gonna top Sonic's gameplay, unfortunately. Knuckles' gameplay is of course the explorative sandbox treasure hunting for 3 shards within each level, and we have a helpful radar at the bottom of the screen. I remember having a hard time with this style in Sonic Adventure 2. I don't know if my opinion would change when I replay that, but at least in this game, I like it. This style of gameplay fits Knuckles to a T, and I just love gliding around and digging into the ground to search for them. Each level that was built for Sonic to zoom across fits pretty well as a wide open sandbox to play around in, and Knuckles controls really well. I've always preferred 3D Knuckles over 2D Knuckles, and that's because he's smoother than Burger Man's brain. There's nothing going on in that head, but we all love him for that. Knuckles' first level is the At Dawn portion of Speed Highway, which has a much more peaceful vibe compared to what came before it in Sonic's campaign. I don't know why this part was cut from Generation Speed Highway, but I think it's pretty neat. I especially love the music's soothing nature. A little later on, Knuckles is sent to the ancient Echidna civilization, and we see more of Tikal's backstory. While Tikal herself was a peaceful, loving pacifist, her father, Chief Petrichamac, was the exact opposite, as we see him plotting to ravage the Master Emerald's Holy Land, and Tikal desperately tries to convince him otherwise, but to no avail. This means the Master Emerald originally didn't belong to the Echidnas, and they orchestrated a plot to seize this power for themselves. In the next Tikal flashback, she communicates with Chaos within the Master Emerald, hoping to find a peaceful resolution to all of this and praying for the safety of the Chao that reside here. But unfortunately, we know this all ends in catastrophe, as the final Tikal flashback in this campaign warps us back to the altar in flames. At the end of Knuckles' campaign, he states that he still doesn't know much of why he's the Emerald's guardian, but perhaps it's better this way. This ending is really tragic when you think about it. No longer does Knuckles guard the Master Emerald because he believes his ancestors were protecting it. Now he guards it to repent for his ancestors' sins, living a sad life of solitude and isolation as a way to cleanse himself from his tribe's misdeeds. They would later go on to evolve this plot point in Sonic Frontiers, with Knuckles concluding he should go out and explore every once in a while. And while that's fine and dandy, I hope someday the Master Emerald is permanently destroyed somehow so Knuckles doesn't have to live like this anymore. I hope someday Knuckles realizes that the sins of his ancestors don't define him as a person, because not only has he protected this ancient power with his life, but he also helped save the world multiple times. I hope someday Knuckles gets to move on. Anyway, Eggman tricks Knuckles to fight Sonic again, and it makes him look like a fucking idiot. Yeah, this doesn't make any sense, and it makes Knuckles look like an idiot, but it's a small blunder in an otherwise cool story. And that's really about it. Knuckles goes through more levels, fights Chaos 6 atop the egg carrier, and he glides back to put his island back in its place above the heavens. And we end with Knuckles' theme, a rap song titled Unknown from ME with vocals by Marlon Sodders. I'm glad we can agree this is Knuckles' definitive theme song. It's straight to the point, groovy, and tough, just like Knuckles himself. Despite it being riddled with memes back in the day, it's still a genuinely banging song, and if you ask me, it's the best vocal theme in the game. Anyway, Amy's story is next.
It's my turn now!
This was the first time Sega used a modern design for her, sporting the red dress and bob haircut, which is obviously a massive upgrade from Sonic, but pink. This era had peak Amy characterization as well, a bubbly, spunky girl who's all about passion. She has a massive crush on Sonic and she'll make sure to let us know, and that same obsessive behavior can drive her to be just as impressive as the others. Her voice is also perfect. I love Jennifer Dooleyard's take on Amy.
That was one of Eggman's robots, huh? He must have captured you, and somehow you got away, right? Don't worry, I'll protect you.
Now, as for the actual campaign itself, it's kind of bland, sorry. The story is basically Amy trying to rescue this bird from this robot, Zero, and soon she's beamed up to the egg carrier, convincing Gamma to free her through her compassion, which is kind of neat. By the end, they reveal the bird was holding a Chaos Emerald, which Eggman promptly steals for his Chaos plan, and the final boss is against Zero before the bird is reunited with its family. The Tikal flashback isn't even that special, it's just her first meeting with the Chow and Chaos, their guardian. Amy's gimmick is that she's much slower than the others, and it takes a while for her to run at top speed. She can also use her hammer to whack enemies both on the ground and midair, and sometimes it can be pretty stiff using this thing. Though if you press the square button while at top speed, she does this cool bouncy move, which is by far the most fun thing to do in this campaign. I think it would be a little better if you could press the button midair to charge it up for an instant bounce once you hit the ground, but whatever. Throughout her levels, she can do a variety of, puzzles, which all boil down to place the colored blocks in the correct holes, or operating a crank in the funniest, jankiest animation possible. And of course, you're chased around by Zero during all of this, and he isn't much of a threat. You can kind of just whack him with your hammer to disorient him momentarily before going about your business. The last two things of note are the flashback objective not being very well communicated, since it sends you to the front, leading you to think you're meant to explore the whole village, when in actuality, you're meant to walk backwards. I spent a good 10 minutes trying to figure out what to do before looking up a guide. Kind of embarrassing. And of course, Amy's theme song, My Sweet Passion, with vocals by Nikki Gregoroff, is not my cup of tea. Like, does it fit Amy? I guess? Maybe? Perhaps? I just don't like it at all. It makes me uncomfortable, especially that whispering.
I got up my map and chose a place I wanted to go. Packed up my stuff, set out for adventure.
I vastly prefer her theme song in Sonic Heroes, but anyway, this was the shortest campaign with only 3 levels. It had a bare-bones story and it felt very bland. I imagine they could have removed it from the game to put more effort into something else, and the game would probably be better for it. Anyway, up next is one of my favorite Sonic characters, Big the Cat.
Hold on, Froggy, I'm coming!
This is Big the Cat's first appearance in the series, and I think he's a really neat character. He is not very complicated. He's just a guy who loves lounging around and going fishing with his best buddy Froggy in the middle of the Mystic Ruins. His design is also perfect. You can tell how many fish has been consumed by this individual and how little is going on in that noggin. His voice is just kind of alright. It definitely fits him. Though honestly, anyone can do a decent Big the Cat voice. Here, let me try. As for his theme song, Lazy Days, Livin' in Paradise, sung by Ted Poley, it's the second best vocal theme in the game for me. It's chill, it's such a damn vibe, it's a perfect song to listen if you just want to go fishing or be lazy.
Hey, big guy! Hey, little guy! Can you tell me what's inside? Sorry, but I don't know. We are simply natural. We present you with a gift. Welcome to our special paradise.
However, as we all know, Big unfortunately didn't have a very good first impression. See, his story starts in the dead of night when his pal Froggy is infected with a fragment of chaos, mutating him to grow a tail, and as such, Froggy eats Big's lucky charm, a Chaos Emerald, and hops away. So Big's main objective is to search for Froggy, and we do so by fucking going fishing. All the other characters' gameplay have had at least some semblance of speed or engaging gameplay overall. Sonic's was the fastest and most fun, Tails was hilariously easy, Knuckles was a head-scratching, big-brain thinky scavenger hunt, and Amy at least had her little hammer bounce to make traveling as her a little fun. But Big's fucking gameplay. When you aren't fishing, you're walking around the hub worlds or the levels to find the correct fishing spot. You thought Amy was slow? Pig is even slower. And as for the fishing itself, it is the most clunky, stiff, awkward, drawn out, monotonous, sleep-inducing, boring fucking thing I've done in a video game, maybe ever. This shit is so ass. And when you actually do catch Froggy, you gotta button mash square for 20 fucking years just to reel him in. I genuinely do not understand why they decided to do this. But the best thing about it is that it's short. Only 4 levels and 1 boss fight against Chaos 6, and it goes down in a single hit.
Aim for the frog and cast your lure.
Savage.
Hook, line, and sinker, motherfucker. The only stuff that happens in the story is that Gamma kidnaps Froggy, Froggy's tail and Emerald are absorbed into chaos, and the Tikal flashback scene has her finally understand the meaning of the prayer at the Emerald altar, presumably before she met the Chow. So, yeah. What a shitty ass campaign. The only way it could be worse is if this was Sonic Unleashed and I had to contend with Elio again.
It's just another old temple. It doesn't look like there's anyone around either.
What? It's just an ordinary— oh my goodness! Anyway, time for the last one.
Preparation complete.
So those last 2 campaigns were just kind of whatever, which is a real shame. We only have 1 more to go before the final one with another newcomer, E102 Gamma. And I gotta say, Gamma's campaign is actually pretty good. Not just in the gameplay department, but in the story department too. Granted, the second half of it kind of strays away from the whole interconnected chaos plot, but on its own, it's just a genuinely good story, so let's get into it. We open with a boot up sequence of E102 Gamma turning on for the first time, being greeted by Dr. Eggman. Gamma is the second of the E100 series, a special line of robots Eggman created to help in his plan to perfect chaos. After a couple of brief segments where we do some target practice and fight Gamma's older brother Beta, Eggman tasks the rest of the E100 series to hunt down Froggy for Chaos's tail and the emerald he swallowed earlier. Our mission takes us to Emerald Coast again, and I gotta say, this gameplay is really fun. As mentioned before, Gamma is pretty smooth and agile, and if you reach top acceleration, Gamma shifts into a little on wheels mode so you can drive around like a Roomba, which is really funny. You can also slow down his falling with the jet booster activated by pressing the jump button midair, and the real meat and potatoes of this campaign is the lock-on shooter gameplay where you gotta hold the square button to lock onto as many targets as you want before letting loose. And shooting stuff is incentivized since this gameplay has the timer count down as opposed to something like Sonic's gameplay where it goes up. With each enemy shot, additional seconds will be added to the timer, and it makes for a fun, constant challenge. And unlike Amy or Big's stories, Gamma actually has a decent amount of levels to play around in. Overall, I like Gamma's gameplay just fine. Thumbs up. Anyway, after retrieving Froggy, Gamma has his own Tikal flashback, and it's just him meeting Tikal. I got a feeling they were running out of Tikal content to show before the final one. So afterward, Gamma gives Froggy to Eggman, rendering the other E100 bots useless in Eggman's eyes, so he promptly beams them away. Soon after, Gamma witnesses Beta being disassembled before his own eyes as punishment for losing the fight at the beginning of the story. This makes Gamma aware of Eggman's cruelty, but seeing as Gamma is basically a newborn, it's all he really knows, so he doesn't mind all too much. However, this changes as soon as Gamma is tasked to retrieve the bird Amy swore to protect. Amy's passionate nature is just so powerful that it makes Gamma question his own programming, and eventually he defies his master, setting Amy and the bird free. So even if Amy's story was a little mid on its own, I do like the effect she had on Gamma. So after the egg carrier fight with Sonic, Gamma starts to question things as he glides down to the ground. He comes to the conclusion that Eggman is his enemy, and his new mission is to free his E100 brethren from Eggman's control. And by that I mean he straight up kills them all. Truly, Gamma walked so Omega could fucking destroy every Eggman robot in sight. At the end of Gamma's journey, the final boss is against an upgraded Beta, which was actually kind of a fun one, but alas, the fun doesn't last. Because after Gamma succeeds, his battle with Beta proved to be a task too daunting for him to handle. So yeah, Gamma's story was honestly pretty compelling and pretty fun, but now it's finally time to end the game. We now have access to the final campaign. After Chaos 6 was defeated, the emeralds fell out of him and are now in Knuckles' possession. But unfortunately, Chaos hitches a ride onto Eggman's Eggmobile, making him crash land onto Angel Island, taking back the 6 emeralds. So after Tails warns us of the impending danger, holy fuck, I can play as Sonic again! After we make it to Angel Island, Sonic immediately gets another vision from Tikal, and this one is the most important one. We're sent back to the Flaming Altar, and we see the tribe gearing up to ravage the Chao sacred land and take the emerald's power for themselves. Tikal begs her father to reconsider, but he refuses to listen, ordering his tribe to march on, unleashing the wrath of Chaos. On that night, the entire clan was wiped out by Chaos, and it would have gotten worse if Tikal didn't seal him within the emerald. Now, Chaos is back with the same turmoil he faced long ago, and once he gets a hold of the 7th and final emerald, we see just how powerful Chaos is at full power. This is perfect Chaos, the final evolution in Chaos's mutation. After flooding the city and revealing his new water crocodile kaiju state, Chaos is now hellbent on destroying the world. After Chaos kicks Eggman out of the story, Tikal reveals herself and wants to seal Chaos within the Master Emerald again, but Sonic, being the lovable guy he is, knows that won't make Chaos feel better. If he could beat some sense into him, Tikal could help talk to him. The only problem is, Chaos absorbed the Emerald's powers, so what's the plan now?
Hey, Sonic!
Amy!
Here, take this!
Hey guys, what's up?
Chaos only used the negative power of the emeralds. Sonic, you should be able to harness their real power.
As much as I hate to admit it, I think Tails is right about this.
Go, Sonic! Yeah, Sonic!
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 Negative forces aren't the only way to empower the Chaos Emeralds. Our positive feelings toward each other can make them work. Our hearts together form awesome power.
Oh, hell yeah, he looks so cool here. This is the final boss of the game, where as per Sonic the Hedgehog tradition, Sonic absorbs the 7 Chaos Emeralds to transform into Super Sonic to save the day. Like I said before, these fights are usually not that impressive mechanically, you just kind of run forward and hit him 6 times, but as a set piece, it's iconic as hell. This is a certified hell yeah moment. Soaring over the flooded, water-damaged remains of Station Square, Sonic gives it his all to put Chaos at peace. Of course, the real star of the show is the music, which is done kind of weirdly if you ask me. See, most Sonic games in the same league as this one try to do the thing where Phase 1's music is scary and intimidating to emphasize the monster's power, while Phase 2 plays the triumphant main theme of the game. I talked about it before in the Unleashed video, but here they do the same thing, but they switch it around. Phase 1 plays the main theme of the game, Open Your Heart by Crush 40. But Phase 2 switches to this. If you ask me, it really should have been the other way around. It would have been so much cooler. But can we talk about Open Your Heart? With vocals by Johnny Gioeli, this is one of the most iconic songs in the series, and rightfully so. It's corny, it's a banger, Crush 40 never misses, and it complements this game's themes really well. With that said, the lyrics and rhyme scheme are really weirdly put together, but god damn it, I love this song.
Can't hold on much longer. I will never let go. I know it's a one-way track. Tell me now how long this will last. I'm not gonna think this way. Nor will I count on others. Close my eyes and feel the burn. Now I see what I've gotta do. Open your heart, it's gonna be alright. Yeah. Open your heart. Open your heart.
After Sonic succeeds, all is well. Chaos is reunited with the Chow he protected all those years ago, and Tikal lets Chaos know
The fighting's over, harmony's restored, and life goes on. Thank you so much.
All's well that ends well, right?
we saved the city, Sonic! So, in conclusion, I still really like Sonic Adventure. As an evolution of the classic games and a modernization of the franchise, I'd say it succeeded in what it set out to do. The story was unique and compelling, the soundtrack was really solid, and the art direction is absolutely gorgeous even after all these years. I can't thank the modders behind the Dreamcast conversion mod enough, and while the gameplay ranged from okay to really fucking boring, as a full package, it could have been a lot worse, though I can't stress it enough that Sonic's campaign was doing all the heavy lifting. That was the only one that was actually amazing. But overall, yes, this game will always hold a special place in my heart, and really, it lived up to the name Sonic Adventure. So I'm glad they would go on to evolve this formula further with Sonic Adventure 2, and I am definitely excited to revisit that one. But first, before we go, it's time to throw SA1 on the tier list, and it's gonna be a high A tier. Well, now that that's done, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notif bell, all that cool stuff, and follow me on Newgrounds or Blue Sky to keep up with my other stuff. You can also become a channel member or patron to watch videos early, as well as seeing your name on the end screen. With that said, time to leave the Mystic Ruins, I guess. Come on, Burger Man, our next adventure awaits.